Droopy man boobs, a dollop of spicy goodness, and Colin Farrell. You know that's right. It's season 3, episode 8 of this podcast and of Psych, and it's coming at you right about now.
I've heard it both ways.
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 And welcome back to I've Heard It Both Ways. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. With me, as always, riding shotgun in the blueberry is my partner in crime, Apple Bottom Jeans, a.k.a. Boots with the Fur. Boots! How you doing?
Oh, that's a tremendous nickname. I'm doing great, man. This is a episode I think that you probably got a little more appreciation for.
Yeah, this is what I've been watching a long time. I generally skip this one in season 3. I'll pick other ones because for some reason, when I watched it the first couple of times, I always remember it because it had Lumberg, but I forgot really everything else because I think it's one's like, oh, I know what happened, so you just kind of skip it and you kind of forget all the good parts to it. So of course, we're talking about Psych season 3, episode 8. Gus walks into a bank. Billy, take the people through the process.
All right, so the process starts with a creamsicle, starts with a holler, ends with a creamsicle, and then the brother. Did I mute again?
No, I was waving to Gianna.
Oh, you're scaring me here. We were having some mic issues earlier. I'm all over the place right now. It starts with a creamsicle. It starts with a holler, ends with a creamsicle, and if there's time in between, a little Thundercats. So
let's dive into it, Billy. Yeah, so quick thoughts for me. Like I said, I just kind of forgot how good of a story it was, and rewatching it again, and it's another great classic Psych episode. The yucks aren't a mile a minute like with some of the others that we're accustomed to, but the story overall, start to finish, was great, and a lot of rule of thirds comedy wise in this one.
Yep, it was. I actually thought it was not necessarily a mile a minute, but I thought the comedy was sprinkled pretty well throughout, and it's not your typical psych start as well either.
Yeah. So we get a pretty long. Well, the cold open is no flashback. It kind of just jumps right to it, and so. But real quick before we get into that, where would you sort of put this order wise in the season, Billy?
Probably like right where you have it, like not at the front, but kind of right above the middle. Yeah,
front end of that meaty part of the curve there. Right as that curve starts to go up, it's gonna be right there at the elbow, so to speak. So definitely better than some of the other episodes we've had so far, but not as good as maybe the 2 or 3 best that we've gotten so far. So, who's the special guest stars in this episode, Billy?
So they are 2 of the all-time, I guess you would call them, movie character actors here. So you have, of course, Gary Cole as Commander Cameron Luntz, as we all know him as Lumberg from Office Space. And he's great. And again, I don't really think of him too much as Lumberg here. But the other guy, Alan Ruck, Phil Stubbins, is, of course, from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Cameron Fry, who's actually brought up in the, I believe, Poker I Hardly Know Her.
That's right. Yep.
The poker player kid is about to go take on his father, and he says how very Cameron Fry of you, and they don't get the reference, of course.
That's right. Yeah. So this is I don't think that Gary Cole was Lumberg-esque in the role. He was great in his role. I just will always you could tell me his name is Gary Cole, but I don't care. His name is Bill Lumberg. Just to me, that person he is and always will be Bill Lumberg. Just like Bookman will always be Bookman. You know what I mean? The role is so iconic. It's just who that person is to me. You could tell me that Robert Downey Jr. You just tell me his name is Tony Stark, and I'm gonna believe that for the rest of time. So a couple of great guest stars. They both do a tremendous job in this episode, Billy. Again, great casting on both. And so, quick synopsis. Gus is taken hostage inside the Santa Barbara Savings and Loan Bank. Shawn becomes the gunman's chief negotiator in hopes of saving his best friend. So we get a real emotional episode, but also, I mean, you're right. The quips aren't a mile a minute, but when they come, they all land, and they all land, very well.
Oh, absolutely. And like the no flashback, I kind of like. I think this is maybe the second time we've ever had the no flashback, but it is a really good way to set it up. It's kind of like a sunny day, and Shawn being typical Shawn, not wanting to be a part of the business.
Yeah, we need you to be part of it. It's what business people do, Shawn. You do business in person. But I'm more of a business guy, which was a great little back and forth. And I think this is something that once you get into season 6, season 7, season 8, they hardly do the flashbacks. But this
Yeah.
early on, it's
Mm.
pretty much all flashbacks. So this was definitely a departure, and it was great. It was a great setup to the episode because you almost needed that little extra time to create that suspense and drama throughout the entire episode. Because when the case comes together, it unfolds pretty quickly there at the end. So it doesn't feel rushed because they gave it that time to breathe a little bit by not having the flashback, in the cold open. But this was, a great little back and forth here between Shawn and Gus, where Gus wants to go deposit the check in person. Shawn's like, they have an ATM for that. And Gus goes, "You're gonna make me walk in there and stand in line all by myself." And Shawn just goes, "I'll be with you in spirit, like a tiny wood nymph." And I just love that line, oh, so much. So just classic Shawn not wanting to go, into the bank with Gus, but it's something that he's going to regret in just a few moments. So how does the episode start, Billy?
So it starts, besides that little back and forth with the car, they go into the bank and you see a real squirrely guy walking around inside of the bank. And this is what I don't get. The woman just yells out, "He's got a gun." It seems a bit abrupt. Maybe it kind of like go get the security guard who works there, but she just alerts and then he pulls out the weapon. Then the old security guard comes out. You always forget there was another security guard there with the
Yeah.
weapon. And he's like 100, so he just immediately surrenders.
Yeah, he's your classic, like, oh, I'm like 5 days from retirement, kind of
Mm.
guy. And so something like this happened with me once. I was working at a Best Buy up in Concord, New Hampshire, and I can't remember what Call of Duty was all the rage back then. It might not even been a Call of Duty game, but it was some sort of shooter game. And late shift, and everyone would always congregate in the video game section and play the demo that was on there. And I just remember there was this one dude, and he was just watching. He had his arms folded. He just watching the kids play, and he looks at me, and I'm just kind of talking, trying to move him along and stuff like that. And he goes, "Man, that game's fun, but it ain't nothing like the real thing." And he legit lifted his shirt and exposed a gun. And so I went, "Yeah, that's right." And then I walked away, told the manager, because I didn't want to make a big scene because it's
Yeah.
New Hampshire, it's
Well,
live
yeah.
free or die, right? And I was like, "Listen, I don't know what we're supposed to do in this situation, but there's someone in the store with a gun." I didn't ask him for his papers, to see his,
Yeah.
and so, manager said thank you, and he called the cops. The cops escorted him out. And I just remember this guy yells, "I'm a white male American. I could do what I want." And I just went,
Jesus.
"This guy, I can't leave. I'm sleeping in the store tonight because he's going to be fucking waiting for me." So, like on one hand, like I, in the moment, I wanted to react like that woman did the bank, but the other hand, I knew better to just, walk away casually,
Yeah.
and then, let the fucking cops deal with it. But yeah, that's
Especially since he wasn't like brandishing it, he wasn't like gonna stick anybody up. He just had a
yeah.
gun. It's like, you might not need to do that.
Yeah, dipshit. Like, fuck it. You don't need to bring the fucking gun into Best Buy, Brad. Like, leave it in your fucking glove
Yeah.
box in your fucking pickup truck. Anyways, digress. Reel it back in. So that's that's the premise of the episode, which is really great because again, we always talk about just how good of a job Psych does creating suspense, and you feel it's palpable all episode long. So Shawn's sitting in his car. All of a sudden, the cops are rolling up behind him. Jules and Lassie's there, and like he's like, "What the hell's going on?" And this is where Jules, or Lassie, I can't remember which one, tells him. He says, "Oh, there's a gunman in the bank." And then Shawn goes, he does what you expect Shawn to do. He freaks out, and we find out that through some secondhand information there that a couple of things happen here. Really, we find out that the robbery is about diamonds, which is an important note. But we also get some pushback here from Jules questioning Shawn's psychic ability.
Yeah, she's a little bit kind of not nice to Shawn here. I don't want to
Yeah.
use any foul language, but it was not very nice. She's like, I find it very unpsychic of you that you didn't know anything, and he kind of goes into the whole, I don't see into the future. I read things in the present. So what we were supposed to do, both grab an edge of the check and gingerly carry it in.
Yeah,
I know you had that down but it's a great line.
it really
And
is.
we're here. So I do kind of see like, oh, you didn't know, but it's also like, how would he know? Like,
Yeah.
he can't see through the bank. He needs to feel and read people, and obviously he really isn't psychic. So that does set off the thing. Shawn tries to go charging in. They pull him, reel him right back in there, and then you kind of get the word that SWAT is on the way.
Yeah, because I think it's protocol. Vic says that she's going to call in the FBI and get negotiated here, much to Lassie's chagrin. And so we get one of the greatest character entrances ever when we're introduced to Commander Cameron Luntz, because you've got Rob Zombie's "More Human Than Human" playing, and just that song, it just that opening rips, and he comes in, he's all badass, he's got the glasses on, and you can just tell by looking at him, he's going to be a real smug prick. And we get a great line here from Shawn. He goes, after that little music interlude plays, and the music stops, Shawn just goes, and cut. Great, dripping with swagger. Let's try again. Maybe this time ease up on the cockshire smile. Not sure it'll play in the Midwest. I just love the fact that Shawn right away doesn't like this guy. I mean, we see it from time to time when they bring in people to challenge him that are good profilers. Shawn's got, the hair, his hair goes up a little bit, but you can just tell by looking at Luntz, he's a real smug prick. And it really sets up a great theme for the episode. We get a real sort of, cock measuring contest where you got Lassie hating this guy, and Shawn hating this guy. And then you introduce Jules into the mix, and it becomes very interesting. Hold on, Billy. Hold on. Check the mic. Check the mic.
What is going on here? I don't know what the fuck is up. I don't know why it keeps going on and off. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, it is a nice little moment, and they have the great, I don't know what exactly the song is, but
I think it's More Human Than Human, right?
Oh, it is. Yes,
Yeah,
it is. A great choice of song. He jumps out, and we'll get to it later. But I don't know what it is with the bulletproof vest over the shirt. That's fucking great. It's a great look. He puts on the glasses, and we get a nice back and forth between him and Shawn pretty much right away.
Yeah, because again, it's going to be a giant dick measuring contest between not just these two, but you add Lassie into the mix as well, and so Shawn wants to take control of the situation, and Luntz is just like, listen, psychic, I'm better at this than you, and Luntz does his whole psychic profiling thing, and he tells me, because I could tell he's a middle child, and bop by the timbre of his voice, and which is just a great line. Tom is going to come back again in the episode, but what's great about this is that when Shawn later on the episode has to go into the bank, he uses that information that Luntz gave him to convince Stubbins, the quote unquote bank robber, that he's a real psychic. And he's like, well, how'd you know that? Yes, I am a middle child, kind of thing. So those are the types of seeds that get planted early on in these episodes that I absolutely love, because it's things I think that could get overlooked a lot of times.
Yeah, no, and I 100% agree. And I'm a little bit off tonight, and I apologize. So
it's Mac. Just blame Mac. Mac threw you off right before we went on.
He really killed me here.
But so we get we're inside the bank now, and you see Gus looking all Gus and scared, and what's going on. And you see all the other hostages. So this is you become a hostage situation, and Shawn wants to get on the official line and call inside the bank, but of course Luntz won't let him. So Shawn irrationally and stupidly,
this is a bad move.
Yeah, he calls Gus's cell phone. And so Gus answers it, and Luntz, I'm not Luntz, Stubbins, great name, by the way. I love Phil Stubbins. This is such a great name. He grabs Gus's phone, and Gus is like, again, I love, this is one of those
work phone
gags, the work phone thing. Gus is like, this is a work phone. I'm responsible for paying the deductible if it had damages, so how about I just turn the ringer off, and I'll put it aside. And the guy smashes it, and the look on Gus's face, is
Oh yeah.
absolutely priceless. And so we get Luntz actually making a call, inside the bank to get, the bank robber's name. This is where we learn his name is Phil Stubbins.
Yeah, and it's another great moment for Shawn and Lassie as, Lassie scoffs like he's just going to give him his name, and then he instantly gives up his name.
Yeah, and then Jules goes to tell Luntz something, and he puts his hand around her waist, and this is where Shawn's like, "What? What
Yeah,
the
you get a
fuck
little
is
bit of
going
that
on here?"
slow-mo psychness right there.
Yeah.
Kind of like, boom, right in.
Yeah. And so Luntz is able to kind of get his name and a classic trope, with these hostage negotiation things like, let's send in some pizzas, let's tap the pizza boxes. Let's try and get ears on the inside.
Well, they do
So,
actually have a lady who is concerned about her husband or boyfriend or whatever.
True. But it's a great excuse to, do the whole, like, let's order you the pizzas. Let's, do all that thing. And so, like, what I loved here is that Stubbins doesn't want a cop to bring the pizzas in.
Well,
He
yeah,
wants a
obviously.
regular person, right? So, like, Lon says, okay, Shawn, here you go, Spencer. And he gives him the pizza boxes. And I love this bit. When Shawn's got the stack of pizzas and he's walking it up there and he opens up the box and he looks at him and goes, "You don't want these. Don't accept these." And he's like, "What are you doing, Spencer?" He goes, "8 pies. 4 of them are vegetable, no pepperoni. Really? Plus the blatant disregard and utter criminal lack of ham and pineapple." Just classic shot here. I absolutely love that moment.
Oh no, it's great back and forth, and they actually, it's a nice little ploy for Shawn to get him ripped into the bank.
Yeah. And so now we're inside the bank, and right away Shawn notices something's off with this guy. He's got the gun, but the safety is on. And then Shawn tries to weasel his way back out of the bank, but of course that's not going to happen. So now, Shawn has become a hostage, and again we get another great little back and forth between Shawn and Gus, where Shawn goes, or Gus goes, "You've got a handle on the situation. You mouthed off and got yourself taken hostage."
No, yeah, and he does have a handle on it because that's exactly what he wanted to do, and it's making Gus look worse and worse by the moment, and it's not even before he saves him from being shot. So he already seems like, and that's the only other thing about this whole hostage situation that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's so many people in this situation that it seems like it shouldn't have happened. Like he's out of the room all the time. Like Shawn gets brought in. I know we're suspending our disbelief a little bit, but that to me is like one of the only parts that I was kind of like hemming and hawing about the whole time.
Right, and I would agree, because this is another situation where we had like some instances like this in season 1, where it was like Shawn was able to act a little too cavalierly and sort of or act a little too cavalier, and sort of get the person working opposite him to kind of believe it, fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. Like that obviously wouldn't really happen. Like any of the bank robberies happen, but like this particular situation, and so it's like, you get a sense right away that Phil Stubbins is a rube, and Shawn picks up on that. He's like, the way this guy's acting, to me, it doesn't feel, like he's a bank robber. It feels like there's something else going on. And so Shawn tries to create a diversion. And I love it when they reference Orange Julius. When was the last time you had an Orange Julius?
You know what? I had never even seen one till I went to the Mall of America. And then there was one like every 20 seconds. But I've actually never had one.
So they're quite delicious. I grew up in Amesbury. So there was the Rockingham Mall. There was the mall in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Fox Run Mall. And I wouldn't go to Square One too much because that's on fucking Route 1. But like Rockingham Mall had them, and I would get them every now and then. And they're
really
quite delicious. Yeah.
What is it exactly?
It's like think of like an Orange Gina, but a little sweeter, a little, it's almost got like I would say like borderline like fizzy shake almost. It's quite delicious, quite delicious. But they're gonna make the waistline a little cranky, if you know what I mean. But anyway, so Shawn tries to create a diversion because he says he needs to use the potty. I downed an entire Orange Julius beforehand. I know my body. And so, he uses that to go to the bathroom and call Lassie. We see Lassie and Shawn in this episode really work together because they both have a common hatred for Luntz.
Yeah, it does take him a little bit of convincing, though, to get Lassie on his side. But
Yep.
early on, at least at this part, he does get him.
Yeah. So, Shawn then also uses this to sort of tell, Stubbins, he's like, listen, I'm a psychic. I know X, Y, and Z about you, but the important thing here is he goes, I know you're not a bank robber. And this is where we see the facade come off this guy. He gives him a big hug and he's like, thank you. And he tells Shawn this story of how right before he was approached, right before he was about to go into the bank, he was approached by a man who said they kidnapped his wife. And if he doesn't rob the bank, take the diamonds and deliver them to a mailbox, they're going to, kill his wife. And so, like, okay, you can see why this guy's a nervous fucking Nelly because, he loves his wife. I love this scene because the way he would close talk into Shawn's ear and the sheer look of disgust and contention. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, I get it.
But he was also like, it was a little warm, little breathy, oddly soothing.
Yes. So that was great. So we're, at this point in the episode, like you don't really know, and then like because you get a feeling, yeah, this guy's something's up here, and there's still a lot to unpack, a lot to like get to, and we're a third of the way through the episode now, and we're getting back to that. You don't really know what's happening, really, until the end, which is great. So, Stubbins tells Shawn the truth. Shawn convinces Stubbins to trust him, right? So he's like, listen, I need you to keep up this crazy guy routine. From now on, let me talk to the cops, which is great because it creates more of that dynamic between Shawn and Lutz because those guys worked perfectly off of each other, like most of the the guest stars do, with Shawn and Gus there. And so, he's trying to like tell Lutz, like, listen, there's something else going on here. Lutz is like, fuck you. We're sending the fucking troops in. And so this is then where Shawn calls Lassie, and Lassie has Buzz, look into some of the things that Shawn's claiming.
Yeah, he goes and says, I got an assignment for you. Go check out the wife, see if anything blows back. And he does kind of have to convince Lassie a little bit. Everybody thinks he's crazy. Lutz immediately writes him off and just basically hangs up on him. But you do get, Lassie now, he's in. He's got a little bit of a hook into this case with Shawn, which is eventually what winds up saving it.
Yeah, because I think Shawn used the line something to the effect of, let's get this case back into your hands, right? Because Lassie does not like to lose jurisdiction. We see that a lot of times throughout, especially where's the one with the old town, the old Midwestern, like
Lassie's Binky or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's like losing some jurisdiction there, which is great. So anyway, like Shawn, I love this. He tells Phil to make a list of demands. He's like, tell him you want an airplane. They'll take you wherever you want.
No, it's my list of demands by Phil. Shawn
writes
it.
Yeah. A tour bus blue full of, with a full tank of gas and groupies. Non-negotiable. 5,000 in unmarked bills. And this is where I love this joke because it comes up a numerous amount of times throughout the episode.
In the beginning and then here.
Yeah, the zip line pulley system to deliver delicious snacks from one room to another. Because we learned out earlier, Shawn hates that bank. This is why he won't go to the bank with Gus. It's because they denied Shawn a bank loan to fund his pulley snack system. And so he brings it up again. I think he brings it up like 2 or 3 more times, during the episode. But I love that idea. It's brilliant and it's perfectly Shawn. So we get Phil. He calls Lutz. Spencer is, he tells him that Shawn's going to be negotiating on his behalf. He demands to talk to Jules. And this is, I think, Billy, one of the funnier moments of the episode.
The call into
Yeah.
Sorry. I was paying attention. But yeah. He is he calls out to Lutz and he says, I am now leading the negotiations, and then he demands to speak to Juliet, and you get the whole little back and forth of can't you tell him the timbre of my voice why I'm asking? And then yes, this is the absolute best when he gets Juliet on the phone and kind of just runs her down of why she's dating this guy.
Yeah, does he have those older guy boobies that drop at the end?
In the middle?
Yeah, and she goes, everyone can hear us right now. And then just a shot of like all the cops just kind of laugh, and the SWAT just kind of.
Oh, that's the best! I die laughing at that every time when they cut to him.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. So Shawn is convinced that there's a man inside the bank that's knows what's going down. So he's now trying to do his sleuthing skills. And this is where we meet Mr. Gresling, who's the bank manager, and this is maybe one of the rare slip ups, or I guess I wouldn't call it a slip up, but like this is one of those rare moments where when they introduce someone, right away that
He's shifty.
He's got something to he knows what's going down. So the bank manager, Mr. Gresling, he's a squirrely looking guy. He's like, hey, listen, he just sort of like talks about how
his story's lame.
Yeah, his story's lame. He's like, there's no future for me here. Why do I care what happens? Kind of thing. But he gives this, weak story about how he's like, listen, I did see this guy like a week ago. There's someone came in, and had a really large amount of diamonds that they were depositing. So I let and Stubbins was here. He's been waiting in line to make his deposit into a safety deposit box, but I skipped him for this other guy, and I just so happened to let it. So, like, it was a little too convenient, this guy's story. So,
yeah, he doth protest too much a little bit here. He's got an answer for everything, and it's all kind of convenient.
Yeah, so like, okay, now you're thinking, okay, this guy is definitely connected somehow. Usually they're pretty good at hiding this, or unless right from the get-go, and then it's a matter of how they're going to solve it. But
I don't even think like it necessarily was like a giveaway, because even Stubbins says he feels like he's being watched on somebody somebody on the inside.
Right. They just made it like, I wish they had maybe interviewed a couple more people before they got to him. He was the only real guy that they, and I get time constraints and all that, but that's like maybe the one minor, misstep. But Stubbins, says Luntz is going to give him the diamonds, we see, Stubbins is on the phone with Luntz, and he's, I said, he's going to, Stubbins says Luntz is going to meet his demands, not diamonds. And so, like, he's like, okay, the bus is orange, Shawn. It's not blue. Is that
okay?
And Shawn's just like, what the fuck's going on? And then he sees a sniper on the roof, and he sees the red dot on Stubbins. So Shawn saves his life.
Oh, yeah.
He pisses everyone off.
Free hugs, anybody?
Yeah. and I fucking love this because, like, you get a couple of funny things that happen here. Like, Shawn then immediately goes to sit down next to Gus, and Gus is like, "Listen, people here already hate me from the cell phone incident. I don't need them knowing that we're friends, that I'm friends with the guy that just kept them hostage here that much longer." And so that was just a great Gus line, and then Shawn is able to convince Stubbins to let him out.
Well, yeah, he convinces him to let a hostage go, and Gus is all jazzed up.
Yeah,
because he thinks it's him, and then he realizes it should be an old lady, and then they realize it's shit.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm such an asshole. Oh, why would I just say? Of course, it should be someone else." And Shawn goes, "Yeah, okay." And then it's when Stubbins goes, "All right, Shawn, you can head out now." And it's like, what the fuck, So Shawn is released, and we don't get a lot of Henry in this episode. But I loved this moment because you see, Henry had obviously seen what was going on on the news, and he's there, and he's like, "Shawn, you have to be careful. This guy Luntz, he's a fucking nut. He's gonna go in there. He's not gonna leave.
He's done negotiating. He's gonna go smoke him out now."
Yeah. So Henry, love you, brother. That was.
Oh,
great.
It was sweet.
Yeah. And so, this was we get another great moment here because, Shawn knows he's on borrowed time. And he wants to solve this case before Luntz goes in there all hellfire and brimstone. And so he's trying to convince Lassie, to, step up. And it's like, let's go solve this thing because there's good. We don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Stubbins didn't do it. And the way he convinced Lassie here was my favorite moment of the episode.
Yeah, would you just screw protocol and go for it? But I also like the fact that at this point, he's figured everything out. Now he just needs to prove it. He knows how it went down. He knows one of the two people involved. He knows a good idea of where they're holding the person for all the foreclosed house. So he's kind of got all the dots connected. Now he just needs someone to do the legwork with him.
Well, yeah, and that's actually one of the better parts of this mystery is that up until this point, we only know that it's one guy. We only think that it's one guy, right? Mm-hmm. And so that scene with Shawn and Lassie was great when he goes, Codes, that's your biggest problem. Just once, can you grab life by the
By the
little
little
lassiters
lassiters.
and follow your instincts? I know you don't like my instincts. I know you don't like me, but can you just screw protocol and get the hell out of here? And Lassie just boom, glasses on. Let's roll. So it's him, Jules, and Shawn. They go to an address that Shawn had seen on some paperwork inside the bank, and it looks like it's an abandoned house. They get in there, they find Stubbins, his wife. She's bound and gagged. And then she said, well, there was two men. And one of them had just left the city, or had been there somewhat recently. And so they rush back to the bank. And this is where, I think Shawn had figured out that it was Shawn had figured out who the second person was, because Stubbins' wife had said, "Oh, it was a man. I couldn't really see him, but he had brown wingtip shoes." So this is where they do your most favorite thing of Psych of all time, with all the shit in the room.
Oh yeah, with the like the way he kind of figures it out in his mind.
Yeah. He's looking through. He's doing the whole thing, like count the hats kind of thing.
Yeah, no, this I don't mind because it's actually his brain at work doing something well, and the counting hats thing is stupid. But this is just a great show of his powers to be able to figure out who it was.
Yeah, and so they did show this guy like once or twice to sort of pan when they were panning around the bank earlier on, and so Shawn's like, "Oh fuck, we got to get back." He knows that it's Gresling, and he knows that it's Stubbins. Not Stubbins. The we'll call him Brown Wingtip Shoes. So he's trying to call Stubbins, but Stubbins isn't picking up the phone, because we cut to a scene where all you see is a pair of shoes attack. You see from the waist down, someone attacks Stubbins, knock him out cold, and then Gus goes to open the door. Now Gus is at gunpoint. So again, this is where the episode builds a lot of really good suspense. So they're rushing back to the bank. And by the time you get there, Luntz had already gone in. The hostages were freed, but Phelps and Gresling and Wingtips are all missing.
Yeah, so they're trying to figure out where everybody went. It's a mess in there. Bodies are everywhere, and then Shawn does actually figure out, well, kinda where they went, but he gives Lutz the wrong clue. Tells him he went in the sewers, and then he needs one of Lassie's size 10 narrows because he actually went into the vents.
Yeah, Shawn had seen the screws and a little bit of drywall, powder, gypsum powder, on the floor there. So he wanted to send Luntz on a wild goose chase so that Lassie could solve the case, and they could make Luntz look bad, and also make him smell bad from digging around the sewers. So you get Lassie up in the ducts there, and he's crawling around. This is where he finds they gave the guy's name. I can't remember what it is, but he finds a second conspirator in the ducts. So they arrest him. So now the reveal is it was Gresling, the bank manager. Oh, here it is, and Morgan Phelps was his accomplice. I guess he's some sort of notorious crime guy. He's got a bit of a record, and so the why was that, again, they kind of gave it away with Gresling early on. He was tired of being in a dead end job. He kind of reached his ceiling, so no room for advancement. He said, "Fuck it, he knew of the diamonds that were deposited, so he said, we're gonna fucking steal them." They found this rube in Phil Stubbins to sort of be the patsy. And so, they never had intended for the hostage negotiation or the hostage situation to go on like it did, which didn't work out in their favor. But, overall, I thought it was a good case. One little misstep where I thought they could have maybe done it just a little bit better. But overall, Billy, not bad.
No, I actually really liked it. I think it gets better every time I watch it, just because you get a little bit more of the Shawn Gus relationship. You get the nice heart to heart between them and the bank. You get him and Juliet at the robber's house, where he kind of, I think he takes the words of Gus at heed there, and if that's what you really want, go for it. So it's got some nice touching moments. Lassie and Shawn, and then Lassie and his dad also have nice moments. So I think there is enough comedy sprinkled in to make it feel like a Psych episode, but it is just a really overall nice episode.
Yeah. Like you said, when the comedy hits, it hits. It's not a mile a minute, and I think a lot of the comedy too is just in the back and forths. I don't think I wrote down any obscure references really. Um, and there wasn't a lot of sight gags or things like that, but it was just, again, it was the back and forth between Shawn and Lassie, the back and forth between Shawn and Luntz, it was the back and forth between Shawn and Gus, that you had these moments of comedy which helped diffuse the situation, because it was a more intense Psych episode than we're used to, because it directly involved one of the big two there. And so there was, but I think my favorite moment is the Shawn Lassie thing, where Shawn's just sort of pleading, with Lassie. But also, I love that pizza gag as well, because that was like classic Shawn. But I loved it when Gus told Shawn he loved him. Like that. That's Psych right there. That's the whole premise of your show. Shawn loves Gus. Gus loves Shawn. Now let's do a procedural around that.
No, yeah, and like I said, I think that carried into a little bit of Shawn's thinking when he was giving Juliet the go for it moment.
Yeah. So those are some of the most memorable moments there. Least favorable moment. Yeah, there really wasn't one. Just sort of that little dropping the ball there with Gresling, and just the hostage sort of like in general.
I hated the hostages weren't really hostages. Like you could have snuck out 10 times on Stubbins.
Easily. Like I said, he's a rube. And he wasn't going to shoot you. I mean, they didn't know that the safety was on.
But like he's literally like taking guys into other rooms. Like you could have scampered out.
The entire time he was, Shawn and him were talking, and it's like Shawn's like, I believe you. They all could have left.
Yeah,
walk right up.
Yeah. So that's my only thing, but I get it. Yeah. It's a TV show. You got to suspend your disbelief.
Right. So favorite characters. I mean, it's Shawn, right?
Yeah, it has to be for this one. He's all over it. He's kind of the driving force. I think you could probably maybe give a little bit to Gus for that scene in the bank. And it is called Gus Walks Into a Bank. But yeah, it really is Shawn top to bottom here.
Yeah, I mean, you could also consider Luntz too, because I thought, Cole came in and did a really good job. I mean, he played that character perfectly. I mean, I feel like, it was cool that they got, Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off to be the bank robber. But like, I don't know. I feel like they could have gotten anyone to play that role. Like he was fine doing it. Like he wasn't, he meshed well. But like out of the two guest stars, Lumberg was, the one that really delivered, I thought. Let's see, for favorite lines here, we've got from Shawn. It was a deposit. Oh yeah, we said this one already. It was a deposit, Jewel. Should we have just gone in, each gingerly holding a corner of the check and walked in? I love that. And then when he's going back and forth with Luntz, he goes to a title game because they're going
I'm great at that. Is it anything like Celebrity?
Yeah. If so, I'm going to kick your ass. Give me one good reason you find him attractive. Is it that you find giving him sponge baths sexy? I just love Shawn ripping on him for being old so much.
Oh, it's great. I love also like just the dilettante of shadow puppetry.
Yeah.
That's the swan kissing the moon.
Yeah. And at the end, he looks at Gus. He goes, "Look at you, looking all putty on a hot day."
No, that's great. What does he say? Smack me and call me Mr. Tibbs. They call me Mr. Tibbs. I'm not doing that. He was so close, though.
Oh, I love that. And then Gus had a couple of good ones as well. There's something not right with this guy. He makes us take off our shoes. Who does that? That's a good question. Like, who makes you take off your fucking shoes? If it's not a cultural reason, for entering someone's house. And then, and I said this one, dude, don't even sit by me now. They already hate me for the phone thing. They don't need to know I'm friends with a guy that kept them from being released.
No, that's a good one. And we already hit that one a little bit. But it is like a funny thing that, like, he is so, like, in on Stubbins. I do love the back and forth, even with the Oreos, where he's like, nothing's agreeing with me today.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't add this one in there, but I meant to, where he's talking with Gresling, because he mentions the pulley system with him as well. He's like, now, you were the guy that denied me the loan. Look at this. He's like, I'm holding this 15 seconds for me to get this mini bag of Oreos when I could have had it in 6. You call that a frivolous loan?
Yeah. Fiscally irresponsible.
Yeah.
Irresponsible. I call that fiscally irresponsible to my shareholders.
Yeah. Mainly Gus. Right?
Mainly Gus.
So I love that idea where they kept going back to that joke, because it's such a Shawn thing to do, to hammer it home. Like you said, comedy is the rule of thirds. And And so not only did they hit it 3 times, but they hit it 4 times at the end. Jules sort of goes to the office there. Her date was canceled because lunch smelled like shit from being in the sewer. and Shawn, it's the best. He uses the pulley to pull in a fucking glizzy. That was fucking awesome.
What's a glizzy?
It's a hot dog, bro.
That's what?
A hot dog.
You call that a glizzy?
A glizzy, a hot dog. Come on, son. I thought you were hip.
What the fuck's a glizzy?
It's a hot dog.
Who the fuck called? Why is it called that?
Just trust.
Glizzy? How is that spelled?
Glizzy.
A hot dog, aka Wheatie. Okay.
Yeah. Cultured Brett. Doc's cultured Billy. Couple of olds talking
Holy
like
crap.
a bunch of fucking teens here. That's what we bring you on to Pineapple Boys. Yeah, I know he's got the hot dog. He pulls it out of the pulley, which is absolutely fantastic. So like I love there was a lot of repetitive gags which were great. With that, I got sidetracked there for a second with the glizzy talk. Vic didn't really have any lines. Jules, Lassie really didn't. Although I did love the moment too when the look on Lassie's face when Shawn realized that Luntz and Jules were together. And Lassie's like, "Oh, this has been going on for a while. You didn't know, Spencer?" And with the shit-eating grin on his face, that was great.
Because Lassie does take any chance to point out when Shawn might not be as psychic as he could be.
Yeah, and he also loves to knock Shawn down a peg or two.
And Lassie doesn't seem happy with it at all either.
No, oh yeah, Luntz is a prick, man. He's he stinks. No one likes this guy. What Jules sees, she does have a thing for older guys though, right? We see it with Luntz and we see
it's the daddy issue.
Yeah, facts. We also see it with Shawn 2.0 there, later on.
Oh yeah.
Which that really grinds Shawn's gears.
Declan Rand.
Nestor Cabon, or whatever his name is.
With the most impossibly dark eyelashes on any man ever.
Oh, it looks like he's wearing guy liner. But Luntz had a couple of good lines where, he says, "I'm good at these one-sided conversations. Just ask my ex-wife."
Hey, preaching to the choir, buddy.
Which should have been a red flag for Jules there. And then, when he takes a dig at Shawn when he says, "Are we sure he's even house trained?" So he had a couple of good lines. Like I said, he delivered, on his role just well. But let's bring this puppy home, Billy. Let's hit that creamsicle, baby.
All right, let's go to it right now. And so the running gags here, not a ton. The zip line was throughout the whole episode, which is a nice touch. I think you get it 4 or 5 times, which is great.
Yep. And the pineapple, he
was on it.
Yeah, it was on the zip line, and he was also talking about, a Hawaiian pizza. But yeah, on the design of the zip line on the side, you could see a shape of a pineapple punched out, which was actually noticeable for once. I'm glad we didn't have to put the pineapple was on a coffee mug in the someone's desk. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, I want fucking pineapples, man. No Gus nickname. Any obscure references, Billy, that you remember?
Not too many. I thought we were gonna get naked pictures of B. Arthur for the hostage request, airplane nod. Yep. But there wasn't too many crazy things that they tried to throw in there.
Yeah, and like you said, Henry was barely. He was just in it for a minute. That one scene. But the Henry Father of the Year moment was him. Showing up at the bank to warn Shawn. It's like, listen, you got to figure this out because this guy, he stinks. And he's gonna go in there and he's gonna blow some shit up. So, I you know what, I've changed my ways. I'm a Henry guy.
He's been nothing but great, and I think he kind of only gets better. And even I think it was last week or the week before, even the Henry prick moment was just being a good dad.
Yeah, it was a teachable moment, Mm-hmm. So like if I watched that 5, 6, 7 years ago, but yeah, fuck this guy. What the. Give the kid his fucking BB gun. But now I'm like, no, that was a good lesson. That was a great. Yeah, you teach your son, to take care of his shit, right? That was fantastic. So, out of 8 pineapples, what'd you give this one, Billy?
I gave it a 6.8, just slightly below you. I think I liked it a lot, but you're right. It's not the perfect Psych episode.
And I was going to give it a 6.8, but it was just too good of an opportunity not to give it a 6.9. Nice. Nice. So come on, son.
Come on, son.
Come on, son.
Come on, son.
What do we got next week, Billy?
We have Christmas Joy, which I'm looking forward to watching because I gotta say it's definitely one of my least viewed episodes because Shawn's kind of a jerk.
He is. Is this the one we find out where he stooped Gus's sister?
It is indeed.
Yeah. So that's it. That's a good moment. But yeah, Shawn is kind of a ding dong in this episode, but it's also one that I often skip as well because if I'm watching a Christmas episode of Psych, it's the one with the little guy from Bad Santa. He plays
That's
the
a
elf.
great one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's hilarious. So if I'm watching a Christmas episode, I'm watching that one. But this will be fun to watch. Billy, where can the people find us?
Doc, they can find us just about anywhere. Check out the hashtag DorkSharedGooniverse page. You can find all the podcasts there. TLDR, why don't you tell them what you guys did recently?
Well, so make sure to follow TLDR_podcast on Twitter, on TLDR Comic Book Club on YouTube, where you can see the interview, the live event that we did with Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo talking about Scott Snyder's recent barrage of books that he's released and releasing. That was fucking awesome, man. That we had a great time with that, and one of our favorite writers, one of the all-time great comic book artists. So you can find that's up on YouTube now. It's up on my Twitch, Backcracker, and it's up on our Twitter page, so you can watch that. And it's on audio. You can listen to it as well. So we had a lot of fun with that, Billy.
I'm glad to hear it. I will check that out soon. The TLDR is usually around this time of week for me. So I'll check that out tomorrow. And then Dork, Mac, and Goo, those are the heavy hitters of the DSG. Then you have this podcast, of course. Then you have Change My Mind, PCP. We just did Scream with my buddy Ben. That was a treat. And then I think What If Marvel podcast has finally come to an end because that show, it seems like mercifully has also come to an end. I believe they'll be back up with two good-looking Hawkeye boys or something ridiculous like that. So I think that's just about everything.
Yeah, I think so. So until next week, Billy, wait for it.
Frank says hi.